either natural or man-made, always have adverse consequences to the people in the impacted areas. Disasters or emergencies can be in form of famine, flood, fires, droughts, epidemic, earthquake, etc., which often result to the displacement of people, as well as massive repatriation of stranded Nigerians from other countries. Our responsibilities as provided in the NEMA Enabling Act is to respond to disasters in a more effective, efficient, and transparent manner. We strive to minimize the suffering of the people affected by disasters, and hence our motto, for the distressed. Therefore, to insinuate this sacred duty of saving lives and provision of livelihood was abused is a very difficult pill to swallow, not only for me, but for many members of my team, as well as our partner agencies such as military, police, and international humanitarian agencies. To provide context on the funding of Northeast Humanitarian Response, the budget of the United Nations Office of Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, UN OCHA, for the period January to April 2017 was $1 billion. The sum of $590 million was for food and nutrition. As at April 2017, only the sum of $94.8 million was released by the donors. We have the report of the OCHA handy with us, published on 23rd May 2017. This meant that we had a shortfall of $495.8 million in food funding. For the period May to October 2018, when the federal government emergency food program for the Northeast was being implemented, I beg your pardon, it's May to October 2017, when the federal government emergency food intervention for the Northeast was being implemented, the World Food Program net funding requirement was $230 million. Just to emphasize, ladies and gentlemen, we are not here to come up with excuses. Today, this public response is an obligation as government to adequately inform Nigerians of what has happened. The confidence of Nigerians have on NEMA and its capability to respond in their most difficult times of need cannot be tarnished. Nigerians need to be rest assured that NEMA is, was, and will always remain for the distressed. Prize donated by the People's Republic of China. The People's Republic of China, as a gesture of its brotherly relationship with the Federal Republic of Nigeria, donated 6,779 metric tons of rice to Nigeria as part of its support to the Northeast humanitarian efforts. This is equivalent to 135,550 units of 50 bags of rice. In total, 271 containers arrived at Papa Port from China in 5 different shipments between June and October 2017. In its mandate as the coordinating ministry for all foreign support, the Federal Ministry of Budget and National Planning received this kind gesture on behalf of the Nigerian government. I would like to emphasize that while the Ministry of Budget and National Planning was the liaison with the Chinese government, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development was the consignee of the shipment. Considering NEMA's mandate as it relates to humanitarian interventions, we were instructed to take responsibility of port clearing and ultimate movement of the rice to the Northeast. The original shipping documents and the custom exemption certificates were handed over to NEMA by the Ministry of Budget and National Planning in December 2017 and January 2018. Thereafter, NEMA commenced the immediate clearing and subsequent haulage of the donated rice to Maiduguri, Damaturu, Yola, Jalingo, Gombe, and Bauchi. Being a donated consignment, it requires duty exemption and other waivers before clearing. The government had restricted the importation of rice. Hence, the process of getting the proper documentation also took extra time. The total cost of shipping and storage charges of the 271 containers was 518 million naira. We have all the receipts to prove this. The actual cost of the donated rice is 2.24 billion naira, equivalent to 50.05 million Chinese yuan. The invoices by convention bears the consignee's name. However, NEMA, being the agency that cleared the goods, made the payment on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria. The companies that were engaged for clearing and the donated rice were duly registered with NEMA, have ITF, NSITF, and PENCOM certification with relevant documents submitted to NEMA, which form the basis for the award of the contract. To further justify that the items were received on behalf of the federal government, they were delivered into NEMA warehouses in Gombe, Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa, and warehouses provided by the state governments in Bauchi, Taraba, and Yobe. The Chinese rice was used for monthly feeding of the IDPs, specifically in Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe, with balances in stock at Gombe, Bauchi, and Taraba, as I am speaking to you now, and utilization of the 1.6 billion for food victims, flood victims in 16 states. The agency, as a disaster management organization, has in place policies and procedures that guide its response to incidences. There is pre-assessment relief, post-disaster response after conducting a post-disaster assessment, and then recovery or rehabilitation. The first one requires immediate action, while the subsequent two involve detailed steps to be taken. The magnitude of the disaster determines the length of time needed to address all issues identified, such as nutrition, accommodation, and livelihood support. The practical case of pre-assessment relief by NEMA was that of flood incidents in Kebbi State, which occurred on 30th April 2017, and NEMA responded immediately on 9th May 2017. Another instance was that of flash flood in Kogi State, which occurred on 8 September 2017, and NEMA swiftly responded on 11 September 2017. These are clear cases of pre-assessment response showing that the agency was very sensitive to fleet of Nigerians immediately after the disaster. In the case of the flood intervention in 12 states, which was covered in the 16 states, which was covered in the legislative report, 1.6 million was released after the flood had occurred at different times in the respective states. We immediately conducted assessment and established the need before moving in with relief materials. The agencies deliver items to 12 states between September and November, and subsequently the remaining 4 states. The evidence of receipt of the items by the respective state governments are available. Fund release for emergency intervention of food security in the Northeast. The emergency intervention of food in the Northeast, EFINE, came into being due to a number of factors. Firstly, due to liberation of many captured territories in the Northeast, there was an increase in the number of citizens previously held in these locations controlled by Boko Haram. Many of these citizens moved into IDP camps or host communities, so the demand for food significantly increased. Secondly, the conflict in the region destroyed most of the arable lands in the area, so the food production in the Northeast declined. Many of our partners in the international donor communities were very active in the provision, or rather in providing humanitarian aid in the areas in form of food, medical, and livelihood support. In 2017, United States Nations Food Program, UNWFP, alerted the federal government of Nigeria that it will be reducing its vital support to about 1.8 million IDPs by as much as 85% due to corresponding reduction in funding by the donor countries. The WFP requested the federal government support to augment this shortfall and avert any additional suffering on the displaced people in the zone. Based on the analysis presented, the WFP shortfall will commence by May or June 2019. That is their report. Sorry, 2017. Around the same time, the United Nations Commission for Refugees in Geneva also issued a warning of growing risks of mass death from starvation among people living in conflict areas, including Nigeria. This alert led the federal government to constitute a presidential committee comprising of His Excellency the Acting President, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of State Budget and National Planning, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Governor Central Bank of Nigeria, Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Senior Special Assistant to the President, Officer of the Chief of Staff, Senior Special Assistant to the President, Planning and Coordination, and Special Assistant to the CBN Governor. The project demand was a clear case of emergency, ladies and gentlemen. At the time, the Central Bank of Nigeria, through its food security program, had access to 30,905 metric tons of assorted grains located in warehouses across the country. The arrangement was for the federal government to procure these grains from the food security program at a cost-plus model. This means the original cost of the grains plus additional costs such as insurance, fumigation, storage, and nominal interest are margin. After conducting a tour by the National Emergency Management Agency's team to the various warehouses to confirm the existence and quality of these products, it was agreed that logical arrangement needed to be made to move these grains from various warehouses in Ibadan, Funtua, Kano, Gombe, and Kaduna to the northeast. It is important to note that this 30,905 metric ton is equivalent to 1,030 trucks of 30-ton capacity. This means we are transporting 618,000 units of 50 kg bags. These grains will cover between 3 to 4 months of food supply to the IDPs. At the time, we could not provide actual timing estimate as the rainy season was about to commence, and for those who know the Northeast, a number of areas such as Ran will be totally cut off once the rains kicked in these by restricting our movement. The movement of these goods from the grains warehouse to the northeast was coordinated by Nigerian police force and in the red zone by the military. The trucks moved in convoys of 10, escorted by 2 police pilot vehicles. The monitoring of this movement was coordinated by Assistant Inspector General of Police, working with the respective commissioners of police in each transit zone. The vehicles carrying these grains coordinated through NEMA logistic base in Maiduguri. There was no reported case of single bags of grain that got missing in this movement. In the northeast, the goods were received in 3 main warehouses. The NEMA warehouses in Gombe, Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa, and warehouses provided by the state governments, in Bauchi, Taraba, and Yobe. In Yobe State, military warehouses were also used. It is from these warehouses that the goods were eventually moved to IDP camps, host communities, and liberated areas for distribution. Once again, let me emphasize this operation was coordinated by the Nigerian police, backed by satellite tracking and supported by waves that form the dispatch and receipt of goods. Store receipt vouchers and store issuance vouchers were also used as provided by the relevant regulations. In the Northeast, we adopted the policy of house-to-house direct distribution system led by NEMA along with SEMAS and INGOs and volunteers using voucher system issued to the beneficiaries. The house-to-house direct distribution system was a more humane system, where the food items were delivered to the IDPs' doorsteps, as against the usual practice of queuing up. History has shown that sometimes long queues of IDPs under the sun led to the disturbances and exhaustions. A register of households were also maintained for further record keeping. The movement of the goods from the central warehouses to the IDP location was coordinated by the Nigerian military under the command of a Navy admiral who relocated to Maiduguri from the defense headquarters. We started with the IDP camps. For the more remote areas, our movements were guided by the range, security, and intelligence reports. The EFINE Logistic Command worked hand in hand with the Operation Lafia Dole leadership team. The EFINE military team had representatives from the Army, Navy, and Air Force. The team was supported by police headquarters as well as state commands. The movement of the goods were in military convoy backed by the Nigerian Air Force, who provide aerial cover to ensure the convoy were not ambushed. Several reports have also indicated that Boko Haram camps also had food shortage, and they have been attempting to attack food warehouses. So as we feed our citizens in this remote and reclaimed location, we also had an obligation to ensure that the food did not end up in the hands of the terrorists. In each location, the battalion oversees the reclaimed territories, provided security for the grains, and the NEMA officials managing the distribution. Proper enumeration of IDPs across the entire zone was first conducted. Prior to the distribution, a serially numbered voucher is issued to each household, and on the day of the distribution, the voucher being the identification of the households to the distributors is ascertained and verified. Thereafter, the quantities corresponding to the number of households is then released to the leader of the household at his doorstep and repeated every month. The distribution was on a basket basis, food basket basis. We had carbohydrate, maize, and sorghum, and protein, that is soybeans. Each household received the equivalent of 50 kilograms per month. The project was kicked off by His Excellency the Acting President in Maiduguri, Borno State, on the 8th of June 2017. The Borno State Governor, Bauchi State Governor, Yobe State Deputy Governor, National Security Advisor, Chief of Staff to the President, and several National Assembly members were all in attendance. Thereafter, the delivered items were inspected in NEMA warehouses by the Vice President and other dignitaries. We also deployed our digital tracking center that was monitoring the movement of the trucks. Following this kick-off, His Excellency the Acting President invited all the National Assembly members from the Northeast and their governors for a meeting on the 16th of June 2017. This consultative engagement was to get their input on the program of implementation. It was agreed that the members of the National Assembly will also nominate their representatives as observers. It is on record, ladies and gentlemen, that some of the members participated during the distribution exercise by providing some representations. 2017, which informed the decision of government to commence the massive evacuation of Nigerians from Libya. The evacuation of stranded Nigerians from Libya was a multi-agency operation with the following stakeholders: Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Health, Ministry of the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Air Force, National Intelligence Agency, Department of State Security, NAPTIP, National Commission for Refugees, relevant state governments, etc., which was carried out between 26 December 2017 and 22nd February 2018. Operationally, we commenced with a fact-finding mission to authenticate the data and information supplied. We then deployed a technical team in Libya as well as monitoring and evaluation team here in headquarters. Back home, we established a reception center in Port Harcourt to receive the returnees. The operation commenced smoothly, but had to abruptly be terminated due to rising insecurity in Libya that impacted its airport and skies. At the time the project was terminated, 2,130 Nigerians were successfully evacuated as against the 5,037 earlier estimated. However, alternative arrangements were made to evacuate the remaining Nigerians trapped in the militia-controlled areas. We worked leveraging on the existing MOU between NEMA and the International Office of Migration, IOM, and this has resulted in further evacuation of 3,303 Nigerians from Libya. I'm pleased to say all returnees under the federal government project were safely returned. This operation was highly successful with prudent fund management, after which the unspent balance was returned to the copper of government. The sum of 102,714,095 naira and 4,864,224 United States dollars was graciously approved by Mr. President for the entire project, and the balance of 11,039,555 naira and 2,523,073 United States dollars was returned to the Treasury respectively. Conclusion. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, this explanation as it relates to the allegation made in the report of the National Assembly House Committee on Emergency and Disaster Preparedness. The projects and programs above presented are properly documented. Waybills, SRBs, SIVs, and stops where vouchers were used are all available. We'll continue to execute our mandate to the best of our ability. We'll continue to conduct and engage all stakeholders, as our mandate is meant to be inclusive and value-adding. We'll ensure that the confidence Nigerians have in NEMA during their time of need is sustained and enhanced. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, NEMA is and will forever remain for the distressed. Thank you for listening. All the agencies, DPP, DSS, and others. So one query written by somebody was sent back to me, or rather was forwarded to me, or rather one petition, not query, was forwarded to me. That is what really happened. There wasn't any query by the Vice President to me. On the issue of the 1.6 billion, we received 1.6 billion. We disposed, we've carried out need assessments, because when this money was released, it was kind of after the disaster has happened, then the federal government sat down, the Federal Executive Council, and approved the release of 5.6. By the process and the policy documents in NEMA, such kind of releases after the incidents have happened. It happened at various times, some in April, some in June, some in, so we had to carry out post-disaster assessment. Then we move in with assessing the needs and requirements of the people. Like Bielsa, there are fishing nets and other related things that is like empowering them after losing all what they have. Like in Kebi, pumping machines that are used in the farms for irrigation purposes were also prepared. So the actually more than 1.6, I mean the 1.6 billion was spent, and we have proof of receipt of this document from all the states, except Bielsa. They refuse to give us because they want 20 million naira from NEMA for them to distribute them to the local government. And because we refused to give them money, then they refused to release the letter. But the items were transported to their warehouses. The waybills are there, and every item that is required to prove that. On the issue of